Hello and welcome to the Nova Coach podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Culberg. This is episode 297, One Take, No Fake. I have been doing this show for just shy of 300 episodes, and I am proud to say that except for the couple episodes with my children, every single one has been a one take, no fake. What I mean by that is I've literally just hit record, spoke to up to 15 minutes, and there we go. And I'm super proud of that because today, in the age of editing and dancing and pointing and singing and voiceovers, and I heard someone refer to it the other day, like all these highly edited, highly over the top YouTube videos as a dopamine burrito of stimulation. And I really wish I remember where I saw that so I could give credit, and I don't, but I laughed so hard. It was like a dopamine burrito of stimulation because there's explosions and pings and dings and noises and cut-ins and if you enjoy that kind of content, like you do you, is something that I live by. But how many of us hold ourselves back from creating anything because we don't have the time, the energy, the skills, or the patience to create something like that? And, I know your best gets to get better. And then maybe down the line where I have a team of people that I employ to, make my videos more of a dopamine burrito of stimulation. Or perhaps I'll just keep it as a talking head on the internet, because I think that somewhere along the line, that is becoming a lost art. We're being so stuck or sucked up into things being highly edited and highly filtered. And, it's a laugh when I see hashtag no filter, because I'm like, I don't filter anything, because what's the point? And I just think something about the genuineness or something about the connectedness is lost in this highly edited kind of thing. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's all well and good, Suze, for you to say, but also too, this is free content. This is something that, hopefully you listen to on the go or whatever. When people are working with me, of course, I put that much more effort in. If you're going to see a stage show, like currently in Australia, Taylor Swift is touring, Pink is touring. Those shows are highly produced, 100%, but they also have a really big ticket price and a lot associated with it. When you are just creating a video or, starting out or, building momentum or a content base on the internet, I don't think it needs to be as highly edited if it's going to keep you from even putting a foot in the game. So one of my business mentors, George Cow, highly recommend looking up his stuff. He speaks about different phases of content creation. So like, I can't remember his exact wording, but something along these lines is phase one, you just put it out there. So whether it be a written post on Facebook, a written post on Instagram, you just, whatever it is, thought download, publish. Kind of like, I think he even refers to it as public journaling. And then from there, phase two, which pieces get the most likes, comments, interactions, feedback, interest, engagement. And then from those ones, polishing them a bit, tidying them up a bit, turning them into a blog post. And then phase three, all the ones that the blog posts get the most likes, comments, feedback, interactions with, he then repurposes them into books, and he has a series of short books available on like Kindle and Kindle Unlimited and that sort of thing. So all of this to say, if you are keeping yourself out of the game from creating anything, because as I said, you don't have the time, energy, money, skills, patience to create one of these dopamine burritos of stimulation, what if you don't need to? What if you trust that your words, whether they're written or audio or video, and you're just a talking head on the internet like I am, is enough, and trust that at least one person needs to hear that today? And how would that change your approach? So I did George Cow's approach for ages. I posted on Instagram and Facebook just my random thoughts and then tidied them up. A lot of these episode topics come from posts that I've created before, or things that people have asked me, or things I've worked through with clients. So this would be like, my phase two type content. And I'm actually thinking of making it would be a paid thing, but a private podcast of some of these topics, going into deeper detail. Now, I'd put a bit more effort into those, 100%, have some dot points, some scripts, some official takeaways, all that kind of thing. But then again, that would be a paid product. So I think, sometimes we hold ourselves back from starting at all because we keep ourselves out of the game because we don't think we have the skills, or trusting that there'll be an audience for what we want to offer. Now, I know there are some people who don't like the way that I do things, and that's okay. That's not my people. There's 8 billion people in this world. How big of an audience do you truly need? And I think that's another thing that we overlook, in the age of the internet where we could reach much of the globe in the click of a button. How much interaction, how many people, how much wherewithal and spoons and capacity do you have to respond to people's comments, to engage? Like, I can't imagine actually, the introvert in me dies inside. But if I had like 100,000 subscribers or something, all those comments, all that feedback, I'd need a team just to respond to things. And I think that's another thing that we don't consider. The bigger it gets, the more admins kind of things we need to put into managing it. Some people might deliberately decide to keep their business on the smaller side so that they can be that one-person show or two-person show. Not everybody wants to be, have these ginormous audiences and these ginormous editing and these picture perfect things, because also too, and this is a point I haven't even made yet this episode, it's not real. When you put a filter on it, when you edit it, it loses some of its, I hesitate to use the word, but authenticity. Because another person I follow, Tad Hargrave, Marketing for Hippies, I can remember the very first video of his I came across. If you ask me what the topic is, I have no idea. No idea what he spoke about. But what I loved is he's literally holding his phone as he's walking along, and this truck starts reversing. And he's like, "One moment, please." And he just pauses mid-conversation, and you hear the beep, beep, beep as the truck reverses. And then it takes off, and then he just gets back into it. And that's what I loved. It just felt, fumble fuck your way forward. It feels real. It feels like life. And at the time of recording this, my son, Casimir, if you're not aware, he's in year 3 this year. And anyway, he's trying out for the SRC, which is the Student Representation Council, basically like the class leader, class captain. And they have to give a speech. So he spent the weekend writing his speech, practicing it, putting it onto palm cards. He has said that speech so many times out loud that myself, my husband, my daughters, Anthony, and I could quote it verbatim. And whenever he fumbles, which he invariably does, we all do, we're humans, he's like, "Stop, start from the beginning." And I'm like, life doesn't roll like that. Life is a one take, no fake. If you get up and start to say something and stop and start over and stop and start over and stop and start over, the audience is already bored. So how can we embrace some more of that nuances and some of the things where people muck up or stumble? With Tad's video, it wasn't his muck up, but he was interrupted by a truck. I remember that. I thought that was funny. I thought that was amusing. I thought that was life. You go outside, you go for a walk, it starts raining. It's like, "Oh, where's my umbrella?" Or, you go somewhere and you're like, "Oh no, I need to get petrol, stat, the lights come on." Or, I think sometimes in the over-edited, over-filter, over-the-top, curated content that many of us have come to expect to be the norm, we have not factored in the fact that it isn't even real. It's not relatable. And depending on whereabouts you are in business, it's not feasible because of the cost, whether that be monetary cost to hire somebody or amount of time it takes to edit and edit and edit. I remember I was chatting to someone who has a podcast, and she said she spends 4 hours a week. She releases one podcast episode a week. She spends 4 hours editing out all her ums, ahs, buts. So, and if that brings her joy and lights it up, once again, I'm not saying don't do these things. If it's in your jam, if it's in your wheelhouse, if it brings you joy, Marie Kondo that shit and go for it. But if you're holding yourself back from actually doing it because you think that you need all this stuff, my encouragement for you today is to go one take, no fake, hit record, press play, start typing, put it out there, because you can always do another edition. I'm curious, I'm almost at 300 episodes. Some of the things I said on my earlier episodes, I have had new insights. It's been nearly a year now. I've had some feedback. I've had some thoughts. I've changed. I could record the exact same topic again and have it be totally different and have it land with a new audience, or have the same people listen to it and take something else away. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever read a book, watched a movie or something for the second time or the third time and taken so much more out of it on the reread or the rewatch. It doesn't need to be new. It doesn't need to be fresh. It doesn't need to be edited within an inch of its life. It doesn't need to be overly filtered. Just be you and take a leaf out of my book. Do the one take, no fake if it suits you. You don't need a jingle. You don't need show notes. You don't need all this other stuff. Hit record, see what wants to come forth, hit publish, notice what goes on in your brain, like, oh my gosh, what are people going to think? And then go about your merry way. Because guess what? There's always another episode. So many podcasts. I was reading some stat that apparently 90% of podcasts don't make it past the 10th episode. If you're looking to start a podcast or write a blog or whatever it is, don't let that be you. The next one, your best gets to get better. Hit publish, notice what goes on in your brain, go about your merry way, and then do your next one. Thanks for listening. Hope you catch me on the next one. Bye for now.